Hello, my name is Paul Thomas Edward Cusick. I'm an engineer by education, but I do research in every area that universities teach in, and I do a lot of research in medical research and nursing. So I've been invited to submit this talk, so it's on COVID-19 and how we lose our senses. And there's quite a bit of math in it, but it's a short paper, so I hope you won't be bored with the math. It's quite simple math actually, but it's a very brief paper anyway, so bear with me. So 5 senses in COVID-19, Omicron variants and AT math is the title of our paper. In this brief paper, we provide a review of how the 5 senses are affected by COVID-19. We also use a new analytical tool for analyzing viruses regarding physics. We apply AT math to the Omicron variants. We see that the Omicron variants are following the AT math solution. AT stands for astrotheology, by the way. It's physics. Mass is equivalent to time for the virus. Energy is equal to the inverse of the force, or 1 over the force. So you may recall that this author, has published a previous paper on the human senses. And a quantitative measure was assigned to each sense. So sight was equal to 1 over pi. Hearing, I should be hearing, H-E-A-R-I-N-G, equal to pi. Smell is equal to the square root of 3. Touch is equal to 4. And taste is equal to 6.67. And those represent the values of a capacitance of a capacitor, which essentially is 2 plates that are separated by an insulator. And when the charge builds up on one plate and gets so high, it flashes like lightning, and the charge crosses the gap to the other plate and completes the circuit. So a capacitor is kind of like a tank with water pouring into it, and when it gets to a certain point, the tank overflows. So the senses have those values: 1 over pi, square root of 3, 4, 6.67. In our household, there is a person who likely had the Omicron variant with the hoarse voice and the cold-like symptoms. It lasted actually about 2 weeks and was contracted in December of 2022. According to the source, according to a reference there, the Omicron lasts an average of 6.87 days, while the Delta variant lasts 8.89 days. There is a loss of the sense of smell with the Omicron variant. The Omicron variant was prevalent from December 20th, 2022 to January 17th, 2022. And the Delta variant was prevalent from June 1st to November 22nd, 2021. Omicron has 2 subvariants, BA4 and BA5. They are associated with a loss of the sense of smell and taste. We now provide some calculations using AT math. I'm a long-haul COVID survivor. Beginning in December of 2019, when the virus first came out, I contracted it, and it lasted for 1.5 years, a year and a half, 78 weeks. So I was sick with flu-like symptoms every third week, 21 days for 78 weeks. That was 26 bouts of the COVID. So 78 weeks times 21 days is 546 days. And mass is equal to the ln of t, we know from physics. So raising both sides to the power of e, we have that the e to the ln t is just t, equal to e to the m, which is equal to this 546 days, the time. So mass is equal to the ln of 546, which is equal to 6.3, which is equal to 1 over 0.15866 is equal to 1 over the capacitance. So 1 minus that 15,866 is equal to 8413, which is equal to the sine of 1 radian, or 57.29 degrees. So we know that from astrotheology math, I won't get into all the depth of it, but anyway, the energy is equal to 1 over the sine of 1. So T is equal to 6.87, mass is equal to the ln of T, which is equal to the ln of 6.87, which is equal to 1.927. Mass is equal to the ln of T, mass is equal to the ln of 8.89. Those are the two figures for days we just saw on the previous slides. And it's equal to 2.1849. So the change in M between the two is 0.257. So here's our smell and our taste, those two of those senses that we break out. Smell is equal to the square root of 3, and taste is equal to G, gravity, which is equal to 6.67. For our universal circuit, it's a circuit with a battery and a resistor and a capacitor and an inductor. That's what it looks like. So this is your battery over here. This is your resistor. This is your capacitor, and this is your inductor. That's as basic a circuit you can get. I call it the universal circuit. So we know the resistance is equal to 0.4233 up here, and L is 2, but it's subtract 2 because the energy is coming out rather than going in. So it's minus 2, and then root 3 and 6.67 would be more capacitors out here tagged on in a parallel way. So we call it a parallel circuit. And that R total is equal to 6.825. We know our mass is equal to the ln of T, so R is equal to T. Mass is equal to the ln of that 6.825, which is equal to 1.92. We compare that with what we just calculated over here, 1.927, 1.927. So the formula for time is simple. No one knew what time was, but it's essentially just kinetic energy. And there's a formula for kinetic energy, which is, you might remember from high school physics, 1/2 mv squared. So when your time is equal to 6.825, it's equal to 1/2 of that 1.927 we just calculated, we just saw on the previous slide, times v squared. We solve for v, it comes up to 2.66. And we know that is equal to the superforce, which is 8 over 3. 8/3 is the superforce. Sorry about my pen here, not working too well. So anyway, E is equal to 1 over T, which is equal to 1 over F. F is equal to T. So then we know, you might also recall from high school that work is equal to the force times the distance. So we know the work, which is energy, 1.927, is equal to the force, 2.66, times D. That's just applying this formula. So D is equal to 0.7244. And we know from astrotheology mathematics, AT math, that the space is equal to the cross product of energy and time. That's linear algebra. And we know that that's equal to the magnitude of the energy vector times the magnitude of the time vector times the sine of theta. So if we plug all these values in, we calculate our value for S here, or D. D and S are the same thing. Distance, position, is equal to, is equal to 0.7244 equals 1.927 times 2.66 times the sine of theta. So we can solve for theta there. It comes out to be 0.1413, which is equal to root 2 by 10, actually. Square root of 2. Square root of 2 is an important figure because it's where, when you have sine and cosine added together, where they meet is at pi by 4, 45 degrees. We'll see that in an upcoming slide. It'll be clear in an upcoming slide. So theta is equal to 0.813, which is approximately equal to 0.123. So which is equal to the mass. Mass is mass is equal to 1 over 81 in astrotheology mathematics, which is equal to 0.123456, 7, and then skips over 1 to 9. So that's an interesting number. It's very important, but we'll see more of it. So now we're going making time here. It's not too bad. It's we're on slide number 9 of 14, so it's not too bad. So our total resistance is equal to 0.4233 minus 2, which is your inductance, plus the square root of 3, which is smell, is equal to the ln of 2. So we know that mass is equal to ln of t, so t is 2. We plug 2 into our golden mean parabola. This is the golden mean parabola, which is just x squared minus x minus 1 equals e. That's where the fraction equals the multiple. So we plug t, this t, x would be t, so we put 2 squared minus 2 minus 1 is equal to e is equal to 1. So we can say that the COVID variants behave according to AT math, as likely all viruses do. So this is an important graph. It's a little bit jammed up here, but I'll try to run through it. We have the cosine curve. This is the cosine curve. And we have the sine curve. And that's the sine. So if one represents infection and the other represents resistance, where are they equal? They're equal at this critical juncture right here, when time on this axis here is equal to pi by 4. Pi by 4, you may recall, is just 45 degrees. And the value of pi by 4 for the sine and cosine of the 45 degrees of the pi by 4 is equal to 1 over root 2. That's where they meet. So if you add these two together, if you took the sine and the cosine and add them together, you get this curve, which looks something like that. And the maximum value is the square root of 2, which we just discussed in a previous slide. So Poisson's ratio, V is equal to the lateral force of the axial force, which we know from astrotheology is equal to 0.26. So the Poisson's ratio is equal to the sine of 30 degrees divided by 0.26 is equal to 52, which is equal to the sine of t. T is equal to 3.133, which is approximately equal to pi. We plug pi into our golden mean parabola. We have pi squared minus pi minus 1 equal 57.29, which is 1 radian in degrees energy, equal to the energy value. So the total resistance is equal to 0.4233 minus 2 plus 1 over pi plus 1 over pi divided by 2 plus 1 over g is equal to 1140, which is equal to 1 over ln of 2, which equals 1 over m, which equals 1 over e, which equals t. T is equal to 1 over e. So mass is equal to the ln of t, which is equal to ln of 2. So t is 2. We plug 2 into this equation, the golden mean parabola. We get the E is 1. We just saw that. And we know the basic formula for electric circuits is V is equal to IR. And we know the voltage for the human brain, is 35 milliamps. So 35 is the I, the current, and R is resistance, which is the time, which is 2. So V is equal to 70. So there we see that M is equal to 1 over 81. There's your number 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. So there's a jump of 1/7 times a 7. So that's where the 70 comes in. It's all proportional. And so 7 times a 7th, that gets each one of these. And then from the 7 to the 9 is a jump of 2, which is equal to 3. We're nearing the end here, so bear with me. So the author's sense of taste is recovering. The sight is episodic, as is the loss of balance. And I actually went and fell out on the floor in the kitchen when I had the COVID from the loss of balance, and I also had double binocular vision. So tinnitus has reappeared after a long tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, has reappeared after a long period without it due to schizophrenia. So the census R total is equal to 1 minus the sine of 1, which is equal to 1586. So 3 chi equals pi by 4. Chi is equal to pi by 12, which is 30 degrees. The force equal to sine theta. Sine of 30 degrees is equal to a half. And after you get your t equal to 2. So the force is equal to the energy. Energy times time is equal to 1532. It's equal to force over the time is equal to a half times 2 is 0.25, which is the period from astrotheology. ET is equal to 1532 and a half, if energy is a half, times the time 1532. T is equal to 3.06, which is approximately equal to 3, which when the function and the derivative, the global mean parabola, t squared minus t minus 1 is equal to its derivative, which is 2t minus 1, and you solve for t. T is 3, and e is 5. So that means that the function is equal to the derivative. So that's telescopic. So in conclusion, I guess what you can take away from this is a lot of boring math, I realize. But it shows that the viruses behave according to AT math. So the basic of physics, mass, energy, time, and space can all be calculated for the COVID virus. It shows how the senses are affected by the COVID. AT math is another tool in the medical researcher's toolbox. We can say that the COVID variants behave according to AT math, as likely all viruses do. So that's my talk. I hope you've enjoyed it. And sorry about all the math, but engineers do that, I guess. So good luck with the rest of your conference. Thank you for listening.